Bada bing, bada boom.
Jealousy is a very normal, natural human emotion. Obviously, some people are just more jealous than others. Some people are just wired to be jealous as well. It could be part of something called retroactive jealousy. There's things like jealousy OCD, relationship OCD. And there are a lot of ways that people who have that try and tame that jealousy. One of which is imaginal exposure is what they call it. One Redditor describes it as, basically I have a dedicated 30-minute session every day, usually in the mornings, where I stand on an exercise mat and I do something akin to meditation. So they say that they imagine their partner cheating or imagine these things that trigger a lot of jealousy in them and they walk through it. So typically when they have these intrusive thoughts of jealousy, they will want reassurance from their partner. They'll get angry at their partner even though their partner didn't do anything. They'll start getting very insecure and start divulging in very reckless behavior or unhealthy behavior. But this time they have to sit there with these thoughts, trigger that anxiety, and just write out the symptoms. Do not let yourself fall into the compulsions of wanting to call your partner, text your partner, see where they're at, try to find my friends on their phones, all of that. You just don't do it. And the longer that you can sit with these physical symptoms without compulsively seeking out these anxiety quelling things, the better you get at jealousy, the better you can tame it. And at the Warehouse, the Communal Living Center for One Taste, which is a women's wellness company, they deal with a lot of jealousy. And they do something completely different from imaginal exposure. They just do exposure. The Warehouse is filled with the most die-hard supporters of One Taste and of Om, the meditation practice that women are supposed to orgasm in. The ones that Om at least 2 times a day, they all live, eat, breathe, sleep One Taste, and a lot of them live in what's called the Warehouse. It's a building that has been converted into what I can really only describe as worse than a dorm. There are just twin-sized IKEA beds all lined up in this open space. It feels like one of those asylum pictures with thin sheer curtains separating the beds. Each person is assigned a research partner upon entry into the Warehouse. Hi, welcome. Love that you're gonna live with us. Here's your research partner. If you're a man, your research partner is gonna be a woman. Sometimes it's your first time meeting your research partner before you jump into bed with them, which is exactly what happens to Rachel. Rachel is very important. Rachel is laying there in this tiny little twin-sized IKEA bed, and she's laying next to her research partner, and it's very uncomfortable. The troubling part is her boyfriend. Rachel has a boyfriend. Well, I guess now it's an ex-boyfriend. He broke up with her like 8 hours ago. He is sleeping in the bed right next to her with his new research partner. No.
They don't let you pick.
Yeah. He's just one sheer curtain away on the bed next to her, and he's just laying next to another girl, less than 8 hours after he broke her heart. When they got to One Taste, they drove all the way across the country to join Warehouse at One Taste, and they were both so excited for this journey together. But once they got there, he pulled her to the side and told her, look, Rachel, I love you, but now that we're here, I really want the full experience, you know? I mean, not just like the oming with strangers, but I want like the full experience. AKA, he wants to be with other women, and she just has to lay there in this bed, and she remembers thinking in the dark the very first night, God, this is so wrong. I should not be doing this. But then there's another part of her thinks, but this is what I signed up for, right? I mean, to be able to explore what it means to open my sex. At One Taste, everybody is taught feeling jealousy isn't necessarily a good or bad thing. It's just a thing you feel. Ask yourself, what does that jealousy feel like? Is it burning in the chest? Perhaps it feels like ice in the stomach? Just be present with that sensation.
You have to work with jealousy. You have to work with comparison. You have to work with competition.
Nicole Daedone, the founder of One Taste and soon to be alleged cult leader, is a very confusing figure. It's hard to say whether she is a charismatic business leader or if she's like a wannabe prophet, but with her very blonde hair, she's got a cheeky smile. She teaches all of the One Taste employees and members that if a sensation is too strong, you have to find pleasure in it, especially if the sensation is negative. She calls it getting off on any stroke. When something makes you uncomfortable, hurt, or sad or angry, you have 2 choices. You can be a victim to those feelings, or you can get off on it.
When she said get off on it?
Like, get off on it. I don't think it's figurative. there's a woman named Anna who joined One Taste. She starts living at the warehouse and she believes Nicole. Everything that Nicole is saying makes sense. And there's like 1,000 people around Nicole all the time that's like, hey, listen to what Nicole is saying because she changed my life. So Anna starts trying to do that. Anna is dating a guy named Bill, and he also works inside of One Taste. Bill's been a part of One Taste way longer than Anna, and he is fully immersed. He is comfortable with the lifestyle. He's always oming with random women, sleeping with random women, switching research partners all the time. The connections flow with everybody because that's how connections flow. They flow with energy. He loves being non-monogamous. Anna is new to all of this. She loves Bill. She wants to be with Bill and only Bill. And she's also dedicated to One Taste and she's trying to make it work. So it's very confusing. And she has all of these big feelings of jealousy. And the One Taste members encourage her to follow what Nicole says, do the exposure therapy. So she sits down on the staircase one night and it's very quiet. It's very tense. And then the room is just filled with really intense noises of flesh that is slapping together because she is forced to sit and watch Bill have intimate relations with another woman. Anna is sitting there watching and she is repeating in her mind what she was taught, to which is any intense feeling is a turn on. Any intense feeling is a turn on. And that rhetoric, that feeling is what leads Nicole Daedone to abuse countless One Taste members and lead them to do things that they don't want to do, such as sleep with investors, have relations with the genders that they are not attracted to, basically give up their mind, body, and soul for Nicole Daedone, who wants to create the next Whole Foods of wellness. This is part 2 of One Taste. We would like to thank today's sponsors who have made it possible for Rotten Mango to support the Minnesota Immigration Rights Action Committee. They are fighting to end the immigration raids and deportations happening in Minnesota. This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's growing team, and we'd also like to thank you guys for your continued support. As always, full show notes are available at rottenmangopodcast.com. Today's case is really heavy in regards to CSA, SA, and to be really specific, there are going to be mentions of SA against previous SA victims, with situations of these victims being forced to recreate their original SA experience in their, second SA. There will be mentions and stories of members of the queer community being forced into situations where they're forced to have intimate relations with people and genders in which they are not attracted to. So please take care of yourself if this is too much. Additionally, statements and quotes have been condensed for brevity, though all the information is publicly available. With that being said, let's get into it. It is perfectly orchestrated, pre-planned. Every body in its predetermined place. Nobody even needs to communicate. Everybody knows their position. It is like a chase. You have the ones that are going to chase down the target. You have the ones that control the border so that they can't get past. And then you have the one that's waiting at the end. This is the final hunt. This is where like the last lioness, female lion, is waiting. This is how a group of female lions hunt. They like to circle their prey and run with the prey, circling them in until finally the last lion, the female lion standing, she rams her body into the prey and knocks them over. And it's very interesting because when they hunt in packs, everybody has a predetermined position that they almost have a calling to. So whether it's the chasing aspect or being on the side lookout, or you're the one that rams into the prey for the final attack, each one of them, even if they change packs, they have the same position when it comes to hunting. They've almost always fulfilled that role. It's very interesting. This is how they kill. The female lion that pounces on the prey, they're usually the biggest in size, the heaviest, so they use their body weight to knock the prey down. And then they sink their 3-inch retractable claws into the prey to hold it in place, and then they bite. They clamp down on the neck before slowly suffocating the prey. Lions are stranglers. Other big cats, cougars, usually they'll sever the prey's spinal cord with a bite. Lions like to clamp their mouths around the prey's throat and hold down until the prey is slowly out of oxygen and it dies. And sometimes, a lot of times, it takes a long time. For the average medium-sized prey, so take a zebra for example, sometimes it takes 10 to 15 minutes. A buffalo A buffalo is the worst because lions can't generate enough pressure on their thick necks. The buffalo has thick necks to fully close the airway. So it could take an hour.
Wow.
And the worst part is they hunt in packs. And sometimes while one lion is holding down the neck for almost an hour at times, the other lions start eating. The eating order is almost always the same, starting with dominant males, then the female lions, and then the cubs receive whatever remains. Now, this is like when food is scarce. When there is abundant amount of food, sometimes the mother lions will get very angry at everybody else until their cub eats. So it really depends on the lion pack, and it depends on the resources available. But One Taste members are sitting around this long conference table, staring up at the screen. It's likely that there is a red-headed woman standing in front of them, Rachel. She's the head of sales. She clicks off the video of the lions hunting down and eating their prey. Some people probably want to wince, but they don't because, it's very graphic. Why do we all want the zebra to live even though we know exactly what's going to happen? And after videos like this, Nicole Daydone, the owner of the company focusing on wellness for women, meditations for women, where you rub down there for 15 minutes like a new form of yoga, she will tell the group, we are like that. We are the lions. We aren't doing anything wrong. This is how we eat.
And who are the zebras?
All the potential clients of One Taste, she's telling her sales team, this is what we're doing. Everybody outside, they're asleep. She would call them muggles, like from Harry Potter.
Muggles, and sometimes even dead. And when people left,
they don't know magic. They're living in the Matrix. So get to selling. That's the message here. Rachel would tell the sales team, the universe is made of love, and sales is love. Therefore, the universe is made of sales. What do we say when someone tells you that you're pressuring them to spend $10,000 on a One Taste course? You say, there is no such thing. All pressure is internal. Selling a One Taste course takes a certain level of skill and art. It's, first of all, $16,000. How do you cold call someone and ask for $16,000 to help them learn how to ohm? They have the hot seat notes, remember, if you listened to part 1. One Taste would hold open mics, and they would host all of these community building centers that you pay $10 to get into with the hopes of seeing somebody's private parts. You know why everybody's coming. You're not here to network. You're here to see a real life ohm demonstration. You're here to see a woman's downstairs. But they have a way of not making it feel overtly like it's fun. They make it feel like fate. Let's say you're walking downtown. You've never heard of ohm. You've never heard of any of these people. They're not going to say, hey, do you want to come to our club, basically, and see a vagina? You're going to see a booth of people giving out free coffee. You're like, okay, well, I already drank a coffee, but do I want a second coffee? It's free. So then you head over to the booth, someone hands you a coffee, and then very loudly asks you, how's your O? When's the last time you had a big O? You look at the sign next to the coffee, because that's a weird question, and it just says, the pussy knows. It's like ominous, like it's fate. Like I was supposed to be walking down this sidewalk in downtown San Francisco, and then you were supposed to be handing me the coffee. This feels like something is happening. How can you not go? Then at these little meetings, they have hot seats. They bring someone up to the middle and they start asking them questions for the next 30 minutes. Typically, they already know what everybody's occupation is. The person that gets the hot seat is likely the most vulnerable, or it is someone who they think has a ton of money. And they're really smart about it. If couples come in together, they will analyze the couple's dynamics. If one of the couple has money, or one of them is the one spending the money, then they'll try to see how important the other couple is. So let's say we go to an event together and you're the one paying for it. Then they're going to see our relationship dynamic. And if they decide I'm very important to you, they're going to use all their energy winning me over first instead of you.
I see.
Because if they win you over, but I'm on the side being like, no, babe, I think that's really weird. I think we should go home. Then they think it's moot point.
Right.
So you win their partner over first, and then the partner is also encouraging them like, hey, babe, we should try it out. Like, I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be a cool weekend. And then now they're also talking to Mr. Moneybags like, hey, your partner thinks it'll be a great weekend. We think it'll be a great weekend. It's going to be fun.
Right.
They study everybody's dynamics. So they put a lot of the vulnerable people or the people with money in the hot seat. And for 30 minutes, they ask you who you are, what your desire is, your biggest fear in life. What do you think fear stands for? You're wrong. Fear stands for fake evidence appearing as reality. That's what they'll tell you. This is exactly why you need to invest in the course right now.
Just know whenever you hear any speaker say those 4 words, just run the other way.
You gotta run. You gotta run. Okay, and there will be people in the sales team during the hot seats in the very back with their little laptops typing in every little detail about you so that they can call you afterwards and sell you a $16,000 course. The fear of paying rent or going into debt, you think that's what's stopping you. But in reality, you're not thinking about what you can become and how much more you can achieve and how much more money you can actually make once you take this course. I hate sales. I suck at sales. During these offerings or during these gatherings, One Taste sales members are marking everybody. So that they call them marks. Of course they do. They have the hot seat. They also have meditation, death meditations, where everyone will lay down, close their eyes, and think about dying. Like really think about dying. Think about it really hard. You're on your deathbed. What do you regret? Blurt it out loud for our sales team to write in our notes. What do you regret? What goals did you not achieve? What held you back? Where and how did you not let love into your life? Who do you want to forgive? If that doesn't work, the sales team has what they call fluffers. Do you know what a fluffer is? Okay, it's like a term, it's a myth in the adult entertainment industry where in between video takes, a person will come in to help the parties maintain their excitement for their jobs.
Okay.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the idea in and of itself adds intrigue to the industry. However, most people I can see on Reddit, so I did see like a few, I'm a fluffer, AMA, right? Ask me anything. And a lot of them seemed...
Fluffer comes in between scenes to keep you aroused.
Yes.
By doing what?
You know what.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
By doing things downstairs.
Okay.
Typically on guys, because visually,
I see.
physics-wise, they need to maintain a certain... Yes, okay. Right. Because, you know, when you watch those videos, it seems like, you know, the pizza man just came in and everything happened all at once and it was a spur-of-the-moment thing. But it's probably like any movie that's made. There's like 50 different takes of one scene. There's 20 different cameras and there's a lot of different pauses in between. Right. I'm sure it's not as seamless as we imagine. And so there's this whole idea that fluffers exist. And I think the idea in itself is intriguing and maybe turns people on. However, I don't think it's real because the more that I went down on the Reddit threads, a lot of people are like, this is the biggest myth of the adult entertainment industry, like maybe really long back in the day. But a lot of these people are saying, you know how much cheaper pills are than labor? So we just pill up the guys. That's it. That's how someone in the industry put it. But Rachel created a term for what she called fluffers on her sales team. Rachel is the redhead who's in charge of sales. She is Nicole Daedon's right-hand woman. She's also the one that drove all the way across the country to One Taste with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend is like, hey, babe, I want to break up. That's Rachel.
Oh, the guy was sleeping next to her? And, wow.
She goes just head first all in on One Taste, and Nicole notices. Nicole notices like a handful of women that she is prepping and grooming to be next to her. And Rachel is one of them. Typically, these are younger, attractive One Taste members who are told to wear short mini skirts. And it's very interesting because One Taste does this crazy mental game where they teach these women it is an honor to be a fluffer. Because, get this, right? A woman's erotic body has its own gates. When the body is activated, she can transmit sensations dependent on her skill, and she can almost aim it at people like a weapon. She does this simply by drawing her own attention down to her body, putting the whole of her consciousness into her erotic self. They're basically saying that the more in touch with yourself and you are, the better you are at rubbing that energy off on people. So if you're a fluffer, that means you have really powerful energy. Like you have a gift to the world that is this warm, radiating presence. You make people feel a certain way. And they also say, but at the end of the day, because there is workplace code, fluffers should not be the ones taking the credit card. We should bring them in, they do the fluffing, and then we bring somebody else in, not wearing a mini skirt, to take the credit card.
Wait, what's the difference between a fluffer and the
Because they want to skirt around we never want to be questioned for are people buying prostitution? Are people paying money to One Taste so that they can get laid?
I see. So fluffers are employees of One
Yes.
Taste, but they're not getting ohm from the employees. They're getting ohm from like a different like participant,
Or
a
they're
different customer.
promising. Sometimes they're promising.
Okay.
You know, sometimes they're saying, well, if you join, then we can own together.
Right. So
Yeah.
you're putting the employee is this young woman
Yes.
in miniskirt and like talking to you and making you okay, got it.
Basically promising you the world without promising you the world. But she should not be the one taking the credit card because they don't want to be accused of running an illegal brothel.
Got it.
So it's like this weird mind game of they tell the employees, you have the craziest energy in the world. Like you radiate energy. So we need you to get these people to open up. However, don't take the credit card because we don't want to be accused of prostitution. Because that's not what you're doing.
Okay, so who's taking the credit card? Just another
Another.
employee that's not in miniskirt.
Yeah. Not a fluffer.
Okay, and the fluffer is there to like express their energy.
Yeah, that's the nice way they would put it. Sometimes Rachel and Nicole would just be blunt. Where they would just tell you, like, get them to think that they're going to you. I think a lot of people would initially believe that it's impossible for so many people to prescribe to some of these beliefs. Like, can you really convince somebody that they're energetically so contagious that they're the fluffers? It's interesting because if you watch some of these seminars, these conferences held by leaders of One Taste, I think they sold it to the point where even when they would sit on bar stools giving lectures, a lot of them would sit with their legs wide open, wearing a skirt. It's not a mini skirt, so you can't see everything, but you can it's an open skirt, almost as if there is like a ray of sunshine just emitting out of their downstairs parts. I genuinely believe people like Rachel believed in this entire concept wholeheartedly.
Interesting.
And they thought that's how you close a sale. If you're not good at closing a sale, maybe you just need to own more. That's the sentiment at One Taste. If you're tired working 80 to 100 hour work weeks, well, that's just too damn bad. Go ohm. If you need more energy, go ohm. One former member says, there's this adage at One Taste, when the sensation is high, you can either f or fight. And one time I had tension with one of my coworkers, and Rachel said something like this right now? No, we're not doing this. You guys go fuck and don't come back to work until you've done it. He says that he and his female coworker walked out of there and they were both looking at each other like, this is really strange, right? Like we just got told at work, our employer is telling us that we need to go do it before we come back to work. But they believed it because it's part of One Taste culture that if you are dealing with something emotionally challenging or uncomfortable, then you have to push through it for growth. So they had this really awkward, uncomfortable, intimate experience and then went back to work, and that was that.
Did they say what happened afterwards? Is it just more awkward or they just
moved on.
okay.
The warehouse is not for the weak. You go to live there with 49 other roommates. You do not have like a second of privacy. Even when you're in the bathroom, most of them don't have stalls. So they had fixed it where there's toilets and sinks, but there's no stalls. In just one open room, that's the bathroom. That's all you get. There's this private little cubby section, like little lockers, but it's a tiny little box, and that is all you have for your personal belongings. The main room has 15 beds filled with 30 people fighting for oxygen at night, all just right next to each other like sardines, except for these little sheer curtains. They're fighting for some peace and quiet. It is common that most nights you see at least a few beds shaking from intimate relations, and it is very common for One Taste members to sit at their foot of the bed and watch other members do it. So there's like this huge voyeurism that's involved with One Taste. They're enjoying the show. I mean, one might think that that's the most exciting part of the day, but it's not. The most exciting part is when Nicole wakes up from her bed. For the longest time, Nicole, the founder of One Taste, lived at the warehouse, and everyone brings her her favorite tea mug with the mug handle on the right side, and every morning, Nicole sits in her bed and starts rambling her newest version of what can only be described as the ramblings of a lunatic, in my opinion. This is supposed to be one taste heaven. They even have someone in there who does quote unquote orgasmic haircuts, which is like a little too on the nose or on the tip, as they say. Some days it feels almost normal. People say there would be times where it feels like a giant family, minus all the intimate relations and the OM sessions, because that would be weird. But they say that's the part that gets you, because a lot of these people come from vulnerable backgrounds. I think it would be very difficult for someone in a very stable upbringing who's not searching for a bigger picture in life to then go join a dorm with 50 other people and OM every day. I think it's a very specific person that they're looking for at the warehouse. And so to have this huge family of people, they would all just cook dinner, they would clean, they would sit around the dining table goofing around, helping each other with chores. Ironically, they would go to the local laundromat to wash all their bedding and towels, which is a lot of bedding and towels. But that facility was called Brainwash, which was ironic.
The laundromat is called Brainwash?
Yeah. And then other days, you see a group of young women leading Nicole's very wealthy tech boyfriend, Reese Jones, up to the bathroom to do things that they probably maybe didn't want to do, but they were willing to do for Nicole and for the greater good of One Taste and for Reese Jones to keep investing money into One Taste.
So how did they meet? How did that come about?
No one knows how Nicole Daedone met Reese Jones. But she always finds herself in these wealthy tech circles. She finds herself talking to the founder of Zappos, who sold it to Amazon for $1 billion. She finds herself talking to people like Gwyneth Paltrow, Tim Ferriss. Like, she's just everywhere.
So they're dating.
Yes.
And the guy, what's his name again?
Reese Jones.
Reese Jones will come to the facility. He doesn't live there.
No.
He will come here and then he will do it.
Yeah, with a bunch of Nicole's right-hand women. It was actually positioned as an honor to serve Reese Jones because you were picked to do something that was so crucial for One Taste.
That is crazy. So I'm assuming the guy invested a lot of money.
$1 million.
When this all fall apart, was he a part of this? Was he?
Yeah, he is in the court documents because, it gets really bad. Like, he had live-in handlers is what they called it. So Nicole actually ends up sending people to live with him.
That's crazy.
Full-time, because I guess she doesn't want to be the one doing things full-time with Reese Jones. Reese Jones looks f***ing crazy. I'm not going to lie to you, okay? Like, he is crazy. I don't think he's a good person. That's my personal opinion. Not being a good person is not against the law. But I'm just saying. I don't think he's a great person.
Right. So,
yeah.
How long were they together for? And
it's crazy because she sends handlers to Reese Jones after they break up. Allegedly. We'll get there.
Okay.
So most days in the warehouse, the schedule is very cutthroat. You wake up at 7 a.m., you immediately head to the group OM. There will be 2 rounds of OM, one with one partner, and then you immediately switch with another partner, and then that's your second OM of the day. Then you do what Nicole calls fear inventory, where you write down your biggest fears and worries. And it's crazy how, I don't know what it is, other cults, when you hear about the way that they do things, it sounds very culty. Like, they're in the middle of nowhere, they're making their own bread. That's not very culty, but like, you get what I'm saying. They're isolated. There is a rural aspect. They're making their own vegetables, and they all have these different things. Or there's like a huge religious aspect, so you have to confess your sins to the religious person, and like, that's how they gain power over you. This is like the same exact thing, but just wrapped up in journaling. Like, that's like wellness journaling. Fear inventory is you write down your biggest fears and worries, and then you share them with a partner so that you can get it out of your system. You don't want it trapped inside of your body. So like, theoretically, this sounds like something that you would listen to in a self-help podcast, but you're telling me that they're not taking detailed notes of every single person's fear inventory and then using it against them when they try to leave, or when they try to stop buying courses, or if they, God forbid, want to go to the police.
You know, like, I do so much for inventory, and I have this, I am a flight risk. And I had the longest flow I have ever had without running. And then, there was just that last one, this 4-minute thing that, was just big. And I'm just reverse engineering it in my fear inventory. So when that gate opens again, I'm not beholden to that habit.
Then they do yoga, cooking, cleaning, and then sitting around a giant table making sales calls. Then another afternoon OM session, followed by teaching the evenings public sessions. So they have their own personal private OM sessions, and then they teach public sessions. Or you spend the whole day in the kitchen, just in this giant vat, like the huge tub, stirring up olive oil, beeswax, for the organic lube that they sell. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And the trickiest part of the living situation is definitely the research partner matching situation. Research partner is a fancy way of saying your bed partner, the person that you're going to share this IKEA full-size twin bed with for however long until something comes up or someone wants to switch, which is really never that long. They're called research partners because they're trying to be cheeky. They say everyone in the warehouse is here for the greater mission of studying sensuality. And because we're all science-minded people here, why is it always a woman and a man in bed together? Why can't you be research partners with your friends who are the same gender? Or like, God forbid, maybe you like the same gender. Because you have to balance out the energies, they said. The energies are tied to gender, according to Nicole. But really, it just seems like all of this is because couples will often come into One Taste together, and it's alleged that when the higher-ups felt like their personal connection was getting in the way of their connection to One Taste, they'll break them up. They'll split up the couples, give them new research partners, and just stir the pot. Nicole starts allegedly controlling everyone who's dating, who they're breaking up with, who's doing what. I mean, she would be so involved in everybody's relationships. Like, let's say a couple is fighting. She would sit them down and say, here's what we're going to do. We're going to handcuff you together for an entire week. And if you don't like each other by the end of the week, then you guys are going to break up. She's like a therapist, relationship counselor. I mean, everybody is miserable. In another incident, there was one member who was starting to pull away, and Nicole orders that member's boyfriend. So she's trying to leave. Nicole orders her boyfriend to break up with her. And this is so out of nowhere that this member is in such a vulnerable spot that she goes to Nicole for guidance, and Nicole wraps her little grubby tentacles around her all over again. It's worse if you have a relationship with someone outside of One Taste, and if you don't dedicate your entire life to the entire company, then you would be considered, quote, selling out on your purpose. You're sleeping on the mission. And the mission is a lot of the times really unclear. Sometimes it's like writing down your 5 darkest desires. And I had to go on Reddit to look at what people might say. So imagine that you have to write down your 5 darkest, deepest desires. Then you walk out with this piece of paper to the busiest street in San Francisco, and you find a person, and you tap on their shoulder, and you read it out loud. In the bedroom, physical abuse, being punched, kicked, choked, tied up, truly beaten, that's my desire. Another one, I've always had a dark desire to have intimate relations with someone while they're talking on the phone with their spouse. Just say it to a stranger, and I don't know what they're getting out of this. Also, there's kind of a consent concern here. We don't know how old the people they're approaching are. We don't know if this is out of earshot of children. We don't know if anyone consented to hearing about someone's weirdest, darkest desires in the bedroom. We also don't know how in-depth people would go. I feel like maybe the listed above is dark, but it could be darker. It could be more descriptive. It could be terrifying. It could be like, my deepest, darkest desire is to find a short woman and kill her. Like, you don't know. And they could be saying this to a short woman. It's unclear what anyone is even gaining from all of this. Sometimes One Taste members were encouraged to film themselves having intimate relations, and then they would have to play it for everybody else to watch later on, and people would make commentary. Nicole would be like, oh my gosh, look at how beautiful that is. Other times, they were told, if you're a guy, grab a banana, peel the banana, and let's say some guy named Mark would hold it right in front of his real banana, but he's wearing clothes. And then girls would come one by one and just like lick the fruit, the real fruit. I don't know. It's just weird. They're already all doing it. I don't know why they need to do these weird exercises. And for women, it would be cut open papayas and they would touch the papaya. What is the purpose, Nicole? We don't know. This is all coming from a woman, Nicole, who is very particular about things, and half the time it doesn't make sense. I was sorting through Nicole's website. I was sorting through Nicole's videos. There's so many videos. Her blog posts. I don't know half the things that she's saying. She has this whole blog post dedicated to making jokes, and she has some holiday jokes that she doesn't like. Quote, ho 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 is a good starter, but no cheesy Santa wants to know if you've been naughty jokes. So I guess ho 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 is a good joke. Santa wants to know if you've been naughty is not a good joke. She's a very weird person. And the business of Om is not very lucrative at first. It's hard to differentiate between members and employees. It's hard to say, when does someone stop becoming a customer and start working for One Taste to convert more customers? And if all these members turned employees now work for Om, they live in the warehouse, you have to feed all these people. How do they eat? Fill Up America is a nonprofit that One Taste would volunteer for. And their position would be to go and collect excess food that grocery stores were going to throw away. And they would haul it to food banks. But on the way to the food banks, not all the food makes it from the grocery store. So they take a ton of the food, and that's how they eat.
So they told Philip America, I'm going to deliver food
Yeah.
for you, but they won't steal the food.
Yeah, but they wouldn't steal all the food, but they would steal a good chunk. And one member says it was a sleazy yet ingenious way to not pay for food. But even Nicole starts getting very disillusioned by the living conditions. She doesn't like people hearing her use the restroom. She doesn't like running into people who want to tell her their problems every 2 seconds. She just wants some privacy. And the overhead, the responsibility of running these one-taste living quarters, she starts slowly passing that responsibility on to people like Rachel. The communal living houses start being run by moms. They would be the ones in charge. There was also a situation where the original warehouse was infested by bed bugs, just like latching onto every single person. Interestingly, it almost becomes a plague level status. But weirdly, One Taste never had a serious outbreak of STDs. You have to be tested before you join. But it's the bed bugs that do them in. A lot of people move out because they were just tortured by being itchy every single night. So they thought, I'm gonna move out until the bed bug situation is fixed, and then I'm gonna move back in. But once they moved out, they have a moment of clarity where they're like, what the was that? What was I even doing with my life? It was kind of like the Great Reset. A lot of people just leave, and they called it like the Great Plague of One Taste.
The bed bugs.
Yeah. And it's during that great reset of the bedbugs that Nicole moves out to live with her then boyfriend, Reese Jones. This is before they break up. And Nicole learned through all these different cult leaders that you need to distance yourself from day-to-day stuff. The leader lives in the penthouse. They don't sell courses. People come to them for advice. The leader comes late, leaves early. They cannot be too accessible, or the leader is going to be eaten alive. And it works. Nicole gets turned into some sort of celebrity. Every time she visits the warehouse, everybody is freaking out. They're frantically cleaning up, getting dressed, getting her favorite fruit, her green tea mug with the handle on the right side. And when she leaves, they sit around and talk about her visit for hours. Like, what did she say to you? Oh my God, she said this thing and it changed my life. And I was thinking about it and I felt like it came at the right time. She becomes untouchable and she focuses purely on the part of her business that she probably deems the most important. The money. Keep the investors happy. At the end of the day, this is Silicon Valley. And since a lot of the investors are wealthy men, Nicole tries to think of ways that they would be more likely to stay plugged in to One Taste. They briefly tried to offer male stroking. So instead of a woman laying down for meditation, a man would lay down and a woman would be stroking. That was offered to the higher ups, and there were courses being taught on how to help men meditate. However, there was a real concern that was happening in One Taste that it's fine with the higher ups because they're already enlightened, right? But if the general public finds out about it, it could ruin everything. They would have hordes of men outside, and then someone is gonna call the BBB, Better Business Bureau, someone's gonna call the cops, it's gonna be a whole thing, it's gonna be a prostitution bust. I mean, they would just come in the masses. Women would leave, there would be no reason for women to stay. And so there could be potential legal implications, so they had to keep it very tightly wrapped up, only for the top tier members. But if you're a top tier member and you're really interested, you can also purchase their video courses on how to S the D. They call it COCK sucking, like really intensely, but they say it, okay, I'm gonna censor it for YouTube, but they have these like promotional videos where they're standing in this very wholesome, sophisticated room, and they say things like, we're gonna talk about cock sucking. I don't think I'm someone to shy away from intimate conversations like that. However, it's like the aggressive repetition of the term, you know, and contrasting it with the videos where everything is so well lit and angelic looking, and then you have a happy couple sitting side by side and it feels like an ad for a pharmaceutical company and you don't even know what the medication is to treat until the very end of the infomercial. That's what it seems like is the energy. And they just keep saying, cock sucking. Like it's a delicate butterfly's name.
So they're selling a course on BJ, basically.
Yeah, so they go from selling courses on Om and being a master stroker, and now they're like, okay, well, we should cater more to like men who are like gonna buy these courses for their wives and their girlfriends. So we should sell courses. That is craziness. Yeah, on
like, hey,
S-ing the D.
Here, buy this one for your girlfriend.
Yeah.
How much are they selling this for? Like thousands of dollars?
Yeah. They also try to push this rhetoric that is anatomically incorrect, that women have a sensory point in the back of their throat that is just as pleasurable as downstairs.
That's crazy.
And I just have to say, you're so dumb, Nicole. I hate you. Okay, that's what I have to say about that. But they would sell these videos and they would try to state these anatomically incorrect pieces of advice. They even created a how-to where Joanna Van Vleck, the creator of Trunk Club, goes down on a man in real time, giving a step-by-step tutorial. I mean, she's like a multi-millionaire.
Who is she?
She sold Trunk Club to Nordstrom for, I think, $200 million. She becomes like an executive. It's like one of those personal stylist subscription boxes for clothing. She sells her entire business to Nordstrom for $200-something million. And she joins One Taste as an executive. And she apparently has this video where she's like just S-ing the D and giving us a tutorial. And she says that she used to just do these actions to be a good partner. But now she does it because she loves it. She said, I had so much fear. I don't want anyone to see me like this, anyone, especially not him, until I learned that at the other side of it, that he felt so much more in his body when I was willing to be vulnerable like that. Sometimes my brow is furrowed. It's not pain. It's that fine line where pure electricity is jolting through my body. It feels like the most bliss and discomfort I've ever felt at once. I look forward to the day when every woman in the world practices this for her own self.
So is she an investor of One
Yeah,
Taste?
yeah.
Okay. So, oh, wow.
Nicole also has a whole section dedicated in her book for this, where she even lists out how to prepare for such S-ing the D activities, starting with part 1, the preparation. Look at your man. See him for all who he is, for his strength and for his toughness, as well as for his vulnerability and his disappointments. Feel the love you have for him. Feel the desire you have for him. Then if your desire is truly there, ask him gently and kindly if he will allow you to S his D. They also just kind of lose the plot at some point and they just start teaching BDSM courses where they're like whipping each other and they start leading everyone around on leashes. Again, nothing wrong with BDSM or any sort of specialized interest in the bedroom as long as everyone is consenting adults. I don't know what that has to do with home. Overall, the nicest thing to call Nicole is a weird-ass pick-me. Another former member of One Taste says he was so uninspired at his software job and he was feeling really suffocated because he has a young son. He's like, my life sucks. And he tells Nicole, she comforts him and tells him, yeah, you are the father of this child. But that was the mother of this child's choice to let him be born. And you don't have to dictate your life based on the decision of the mother of your child. She is the one that ultimately decided to have this kid. Again, I really hope they're picking her at jail. But at some point, it does feel like One Taste loses track of what they're doing. They're just shooting arrows in the dark. They're just trying to see what's going to stick, what's going to bring in the most revenue. I mean, Nicole even starts doing orgasmic rebalancing. There is a clip of this in, I think it was in the Netflix documentary, or it was in the Vice documentary. There's so many documentaries on this too. But it's where someone is laying down on a massage table on their back. And Nicole is just like dry humping them, sniffing them, massaging them. Everyone's fully clothed, but she's like trying to bite at them. Like she looks like someone who maybe potentially has rabies. I don't know. Like it just is weird.
Like gyrating on her.
Yeah, and it's really weird.
And what is this called?
She's
why is
transferring her orgasmic energy to that subject.
Ooh, okay.
But it's just like a lot of like grunting and like grabbing and groping and like her back is hunched and she's like convulsing and it's like you could have just seen a therapist and we would have all been fine. But she's very dead serious on this. She's for real. She's like growling at one point. Like I said, she knows her audience. If she thinks the audience is going to receive this well, she's going to do it. She knows if a tech group really likes the occult, like I said, she'll bring in these meditation practices where they bring in snakes, where they bring in like these ritualistic things. Sometimes it's as simple as zipping everyone up in body bags. Like if you get a tech group, tech bros that are super existential, they're like, what is the meaning of life? All I do is code, 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 code. What is AI going to do to us? You zip them up in body bags and you leave them in the dark to contemplate death. And then you open up the bag and you let them be reborn. Yeah. And then one guy, he said that this happened to him and he was just like crying. He was sobbing. And he had this moment where he saw through Nicole's facade because Nicole took him in her arms and was like cradling him, caressing him. And he had this moment of clarity where he's like, I know what you're doing. You're trying to be my mommy. Like to get people to latch onto her like that.
Yeah. And he's saying it as what, he didn't fall for it?
Yeah.
Or he saw it and then still liked it?
He liked it a little bit, but I think eventually he left because he was like, I think that she's full of shit.
Okay.
Yeah. A while ago, I was eagerly awaiting a package and I got a random text that looked like it was from the delivery company that my driver had dropped the package off at my exact address and to click the link in the little thing to see the photo that they took. I was so close to clicking that link until I remembered that I've actually never gotten text like this before. Thankfully, I avoided the phishing link scam, but how did they even get my information in the first place? What I did not realize is that my personal information was being bought and sold by data brokers all over the internet, and it is very likely that your information is too. Incogni helps you protect your privacy and take your personal data off the market by reaching out to data brokers on your behalf, requesting your personal data removal, and dealing with their objections. With Incogni's custom removals feature in the Unlimited Plan and Family Unlimited Plan, you can point to any website where your personal information is visible and one of their privacy agents will take care of the rest for you. Go to incogni.com/rotten and use code ROTTEN for 60% off. Incogni helps wipe yourself from the internet. They can't harm you if they can't find you. Click the link below to claim your 60% off and get your personal data off the market. Erase yourself from the internet. The idea of owning your own business can be daunting, but taking the leap with we had Grandpa Mango's art studio, it was such a fulfilling decision. Even just to see Grandpa Mango's entire face light up when he realized that his art was something that people wanted. We only had his art up for a limited time, but I could not have done that without Shopify. We used to joke in the family that our Grandpa Mango could have started Grandpa Mango's art studio by himself if he used Shopify, which I don't know if is entirely true because there's a huge language barrier. However, it's that easy to use. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world, and 10% of all e-commerce in the US, including popular brands like Skims, Aloe Yoga, and Rode. Shopify meets you wherever you are in your business journey, and it grows with you. My favorite thing was that everything was synced in one place. Their analytics dashboard showed me exactly what was working, what wasn't working, no guesswork. It was just data. If you've been sitting on that idea, waiting for the perfect time, you can stop waiting. The leap to be a small business owner can be very scary, but Shopify makes that landing smooth. It's time to turn those what ifs into sales with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/rotten. Go to shopify.com/rotten. That's shopify.com/rotten. But ultimately, it comes down to do whatever it takes to sell a course, like a modern day courtesan. One former member says, very often you would usually see a young, attractive woman somehow encouraged or paired up with a guy who had money for OM sessions. Part of it very often was to get a guy who had money, even though that was never the advertised reason. The advertised reason was that it was to help OM grow. Another member says they would specifically go for a lot of rich tech guys. And the message is, you can make any man do anything you want, giving Nicole all his money as long as you know how to handle them. Nicole calls it the call with a capital C, C-A-L-L. It is the power that females are born with. This is like the strongest power in the universe and only females have it, okay? She writes in a self-published article, the most accessible way to understand the force of a call. Women might be through the nexus of power in human physiology, psychology, motivation, and growth. Sexual energy. A woman turns this power on through call. Call is hardwired into the basic biology of our species by evolution and nature, displays its power everywhere. In the animal world, call can provoke males of nearly every sexually reproducing species to fight, sometimes to the death or exile, over females. They've evolved physical features, cumbersome antlers in deers, bright and heavy feathers in birds such as the peacock, that give them access to females while making them vulnerable to predators. In our near cousins, gorillas, the ovulation of a female, her call sends a signal drawing the male to her across 200 miles. Research has found that lap dancers earned 81% more tips when they were during ovulation compared to when they were menstruating. Whether we are conscious of it or not, whether we want it or not, cyclic changes make the woman more attractive. The power of call is simply a fact of life. Call is likely the strongest force on the planet. Women move the world by being fully who they are. Women hold true power. It's not because sometimes women can be smart, okay? Or we're competent people. It's because I'm ovulating. So that's why I should be killing it in the world right now. It's so weird. And she would try to convince people that you're using your power of call to get people signed up to OM, to these courses, and you're actually helping them because they don't even know what they want. They don't even realize how much they need OM. And then sometimes if Nicole trusts you, apparently she would just close the doors and tell you, hey, go get that guy all excited and hot and bothered and make sure he comes back. Sometimes she would call her inner circle of women sacred prostitutes, which I hate that word, but that's what she would apparently call them. And side note, none of the members, even if they're working 80 to 100 hours at One Taste, they're not getting paid. A ton of members spent like $100,000 on One Taste buying all these courses. Then they make it to be part of their sales team and they would get commission, but it would be the tiniest commission of all the courses they sell. Sometimes they would work 100 hours a week, get paid $300 a month. It doesn't even make any sense. And it leads a lot of people initially to have a hard time understanding why anyone would even want to listen to Nicole, especially if they're not on an isolated farm in the middle of nowhere. They're in the middle of San Francisco. This is not a typical cult-like environment with the promise of the great wrath coming that's going to wipe out everyone, but everybody who follows the selfless leader who needs to be tended to every second of every day. Why are people listening to Nicole? One former member says, when she locked eyes with me, it was like she unlocked something in me. I don't know, she always seemed angelic. She seemed godlike. One thing Nicole would say very often is, One Taste is her vehicle to God. Her own ex-husband says Nicole would borrow ideas and methods from Scientology. She would study Scientology, apparently. She herself has stated in a seminar once,
My philosophy, and anybody I've ever loved in any way will test that in every minute, especially at the beginning, especially, you know, that moment where you want to fall into each other's arms. Don't do that. Don't let anything settle yet, because you're learning the way a cat walks around a room in order to know how to fall. You're learning their algorithm. What happens when I do this? What happens when I do this? What happens when I pull back? What happens when I text back quickly? What happens when I give you a compliment? What happens when I withhold a compliment? What happens when you see me look at someone else? What happens when you look at somebody else? And you test those things. And I'm a big believer in emergent training.
she believes the secret to authentic connection is to learn all the broken parts of you and then try to fix it and tell them that you're the only one that can fix it, basically. Another says, when you're looking at Nicole and she's looking back, she looks into your eyes and it just looks like you're being completely seen, like down to your soul, including everything yuck and all, especially yuck and all, while you're just being embraced in this gaze. You're also being, picked apart like you're under a microscope. And so she starts playing this game with me, which is like pulling desires. So one woman says, she was like, what do you want? What do you want? And she's fishing. She's pulling them out. So I say, I want to have more intimate relations. No, what do you want? I want to have more O's. What do you want? I want more fun. What do you want? I want more community. So she's like, come on, what else? This is how it goes. And so finally I get down to my deepest desire, and I've never spoken it out loud, and I say, I want to have a baby. And she's like, not so fast. What else? And I'm thinking, like, that's it. What else? So I just think of saying what I think that she wants to hear. Okay, I want to be part of a demonstration, which is at one of those lectures. You're the one being owned. And Nicole goes, see, did you hear that, everyone? We hit the bottom. That's the bottom desire. And the member said that's not at all what she wanted. It was just weird because it's like this pattern where Nicole will keep digging and digging until you're exhausted, and then you just give her the answer that she wants. They say, quote, "This is how Nicole manipulated people. She agreed that something was true if it matched what she wanted to hear. If you said something she didn't like, she called it a lie, or that's not the end of your desires. If you had any doubt, she knew how to increase that doubt until she told you what was true, and that became what you believed." One former member that was part of Nicole's inner circle for a really long time, I mean, since the beginning, he joined with his wife. So this is a guy, and he's saying this about Nicole while he's married. He says, "You know, in those movies," like this is Nicole's essence, "you know, in those movies where you're standing at a cocktail party and a woman walks in the door and the music changes and it's an important plot point? Well, there was no music change, but I knew it was an important plot point. That is how I described the first time I saw Nicole." Not his wife, Nicole. Eventually, Nicole gives him an ultimatum to either leave his wife or leave Nicole in one taste. And he chooses Nicole. And she brags about it later, saying, "I told him, what do you want? Because I can give you what you want," even though I knew I had heavy competition. She's referring to his wife. "She looked like a Playboy bunny, but I knew I could handle it because I had bravado. And he had all these wild fantasies that I knew I could give him." She says he had to give me everything: his wife, his money, his obsession, his pride. He had to move wherever I wanted to go. And he had to work every day, 18 hours a day for me, doing whatever I wanted without complaint.
And this guy spoken out?
Yeah.
And who is this guy? Do we know?
I mean, he's not like a outspoken member of One Taste where he says that he was victimized, but he is outspoken in the sense of he's everywhere in a lot of the clips because he was there for such a long time. And he was like a right-hand man for her for a while.
So he divorced his wife because he wants to have all these fantasies fulfilled?
Yeah. Nicole claims she made him into a king, aka forced lower-ranking women to have intimate relations with him. Okay, well, I guess force is a very strong legal word, but rather persuaded a lot of lower-ranking women to have intimate relations with him. She says, "There were a lot of guys that I could take and make into kings, but he offered me willingness to have his ego hit again and again. And if you're willing to be a manservant, then you can become a king." One member says, "I thought that was a space that was supposedly woman positive, you know, it would be safe. But once your boundaries for who you're willing to sleep with become more malleable, it could be molded into whatever was advantageous for the company at the time to help meet their goals." And Nicole had a really sick way of doing it. She would have these dedicated seminars about how old people are really good at bringing out energy in young people. And if you're uncomfortable being with someone 30 years older than you, the same age as your dad, or oming with someone who is a senior citizen and gets discounts at the movie theater, you need to lean into it because uncomfortable means that you're growing. And old people generally have a very overwhelmingly positive energy that rubs off on young people. And it's about learning how to get off on any stroke, right? Can you find in every moment of your life, even when it's someone who is older than your dad and gives you the ick? She's not always around the bush about it. Sometimes she would tell you straight up, One Taste runs on two currencies, money and orgasm. And to help wealthy rich people achieve is just part of the growth. To make sure the business exists and survives. That's it. People would say you would have been told to do aversion practice, which is when you think of the most disgusting thing ever and you go sleep with them. But a lot of the times those disgusting things were just investors, rich, old investor dudes. And if you don't do it, they would bully you and tell you that you have golden pussy syndrome, where you think your private parts are golden. And it is interesting. I don't know how many people... Okay, I don't know how important this aspect of it is, but a lot of former members do point to the fact that you are told to have so many ohms and you're sleep deprived. Like every single night, there's no privacy in these communal living areas. You have no privacy, you're sleep deprived, and then you're told anytime you're stressed out or you're not hitting sales markets to go ohm. And so when you're doing like 5-10 ohms a day, your brain gets really foggy. So they're saying it's like, you just have this very clouded feeling. You're overstimulated physically, sexually. There's no privacy, emotionally overstimulated. You're just overstimulated to the point where you can't even think clearly. And the little amount of times that members were leaving the communal living, such as the holidays, very tense times for One Taste. People would ponder who's going home to visit their family members, and they would be encouraged to keep their trip short, and they would be grilled before they go. What's your plan? How are you going to not fall asleep? How are you not going to turn into a muggle? When asked by a reporter if One Taste was a cult, Nicole responds, "You could ask the same thing of Apple." One member says, no, it was a religion. Orgasm was God, and Nicole was like Jesus or Muhammad. Nicole Daydone is standing there in a beige jumpsuit. Her hair is perfect, though. She's wearing a full face of makeup, and you can see prison bunks behind her. Gray metal bunks. There's a fluorescent light bulb just hanging above her head, almost looking like it's a halo. She says,
This is your dispatch from your sisters on the inside. From Metropolitan Detention Center, Brooklyn. From a dorm of 37 women, thank you for gathering tonight. You may be over there, and I may be in here, but your spirit travels. And now I'm gonna tell you the truth I've lived by for 30 years.
she's like way older than 30, by the way. As His Holiness the Dalai Lama has said, Western women will save the world. I believe there will be a revolution, but the difference is this revolution will not be against anyone. It will be an inner revolution. We will not spend our lives fighting the power because we are the power. There is one enemy, our shared enemy, and it's ignorance. I think she fully believes that she is Hunger Games Katniss Everdeen. I don't know what she's doing, but she continues. Ignorance is the real prison, and the cure for ignorance is not more contempt. It's contact. Freedom is an inside job. Here in MDC Brooklyn, we have a term, ops, opposition, enemies, people you can't trust, sometimes by association, sometimes by rumor. No, she really thinks it's like a term that only exists in prison. Yeah. No, she doesn't understand. Yeah. Sometimes because of old histories that we drag behind us like chains, and you can see the sickness of separation magnified. She describes her dorm at MDC.
A room full of 37 women, all in dire straits, women the world calls criminals, animals, threats, spending precious energy that could be used to heal and build, instead battling over turf, or battling over who is talking to a man.
So remember how we talked to Brad from MDC Brooklyn, and he said that there are these vents that a lot of the male inmates and the female inmates will talk to.
Can you explain again for the people?
Yes. Okay. So basically, MDC Brooklyn houses male inmates and female inmates.
Separately,
yes. But they can hear each other through these vents, like these AC vents. And so they'll scream dirty, nasty, just like filthy talk and love and lust.
So they will have like slotted times.
Yeah.
So like John will say, 2 p.m. is my time with my date.
Yeah.
And then they would like climb through this little vent, and they're like one floor above each other, and they will scream through the vent. Just like dirty talks, going on dates.
And then eventually like they'll meet each other and realize like they don't look the way that they assumed that they should look like, and it's like a whole dramatic thing. Well, I guess it's still existing in the great year of 2026 because Nicole is like, I see all these girls, they call it the gate. Yeah.
Oh, the little AC vent is the gate?
They go to the gate and they talk to all these guys, and sometimes they battle over who is talking to who or which guy. And so she says, all the women in prison are super focused on that. And it's not just prisoners, you know. This is a women problem. And that hole we're trying to fill can only be filled by one thing, our own power, our own holiness. Freedom is an inside job. There's no condition that can keep you from being free. Not a man, not your history, not your trauma, not an ism, not a government, not a boss, not even an addiction. The only thing that you can hold yourself down with the stories you believe. The story that says someone somewhere is to blame for my life.
The truth is, you are free right now. The question is, will you claim it?
The video cuts, and I didn't know MDC Brooklyn was just letting people make vlogs now because we want to see one from Luigi, not you, Nicole, okay? They're not. This is an AI-generated video to get Nicole's followers all riled up after she's been placed in jail.
You're kidding me.
Yeah.
Does it look AI?
Oh, yeah. Riled up to do exactly what? We're going to find out. Nicole takes the wise words of a former cult leader because she needs a pit bull. Someone to protect Nicole. This is before she goes to jail. She needs someone that can attack on command if needed. And the only person that fits that role is Rachel. I don't know exactly what Nicole sees in Rachel. I mean, the moment that Rachel walked into One Taste, she just seemed very vulnerable. Her boyfriend had just broken up with her, like I said in the beginning. She's sleeping on a bed next to her ex-boyfriend now that she traveled across the country with to join One Taste. She has no money. All they could offer was their labor in exchange for living at the warehouse. I mean, this is their dream. The first few hours they get there, Rachel genuinely thinks this is heaven. Even when her boyfriend breaks up with her, she thinks this is heaven. She thinks she's made it. This is what she wants to be here for. And Rachel is very confusing because she's later going to be the only other person charged alongside Nicole Daedone. But a lot of people think that Rachel herself is a victim. There is one video where Rachel is sitting on Nicole's lap like a child, and Nicole leans over and bites Rachel on the neck. Rachel squeals and leans in towards Nicole. And Nicole looks around and she's proudly showing everyone, did you see that? You do that and she comes closer. Almost saying it's human instinct to want to pull away when someone's biting you. But she's so trained, she's so obsessed with Nicole that she comes closer. And Rachel has like a playful aura that throws people off. In one seminar, Rachel says, "Hi, I'm Rachel and I teach the dark arts." I would say that's the 4th dimensional class that I teach. The 3rd dimensional class that I teach is sales.
I'm also hyper volatile. And I'm an 8 on the Enneagram, and I'm a Scorpio. I think maybe I wasn't a very nice person in my last life.
Ultimately, though, people in One Taste with very close interactions with Nicole and Rachel would say, Rachel was willing to do anything Nicole wanted her to do in terms of advancing One Taste and protecting One Taste. I get that she could have come from a vulnerable place, but there are so many incidents that members have spoken out about what Rachel has done to them. And yes, it's under the pressure of Nicole. Nicole is pressuring her to have higher sales, do these crazy things so that she can keep everyone under control. But she doesn't have to do this. Rachel has a crush on a new member, a new guy from One Taste. And this guy, he's also talking to a bunch of women because that's the culture at One Taste. It's the warehouse. Everybody's sleeping with everybody. And let's call this girl Michelle. Michelle is like one of Rachel's proteges. So Nicole has Rachel, and Rachel has like a group of girls that she's also keeping close, that feel like her closest confidants, the ones that she tells to go and do things or help her with things that she's training for. What? I don't know. And so Michelle is one of the inner circle girls. Michelle gets a flirty text message from this guy, Ben, and there's so many emojis in it. Michelle sees Rachel as a sister. So she shows Rachel, not knowing that Rachel also likes Ben. And she's just like, look at what Ben texted me. And all hell breaks loose. Michelle, because she is one of Rachel's favorites, she was told that she has really strong energy, energy, which we learned is like the most important thing for women. It's like if you are able to have that call that is so strong, to have the sexual energy that is so strong, people can feel it, then of course, One Taste is gonna want you to be a part of the demonstrations. So when they do these big seminars, you're the one getting stroked, and it's a really big honor because that means your energy is infectious. That's like a high compliment. That's basically saying like you've got holy blood in you or something.
And it doesn't matter what you want. It doesn't matter how you feel.
I mean, most of them want it because they've been told over and over again, this is the highest achievement. And by this point, they're so deep in it that they've been manipulated into thinking like, this is exactly what I need to do. This is my calling, basically.
It's an honor.
Yeah. And so Michelle was going to be someone who is doing these demonstrations, and she was really proud of that. She worked so hard to get there. She was practicing Om. She was doing everything Rachel told her to do just so she could be part of these demonstrations. And then Rachel one day brings her into the full group at the warehouse in front of everyone, including Ben, the guy that they like, and announces that Michelle has a disease, a spiritual virus, where her turn-on energy, the most important thing, is broken. So for weeks, nobody is allowed to look at Michelle, interact with Michelle, because they don't want to feed the beast. There's a beast in her who's hungry, and we can't feed the beast, otherwise the beast will take over Michelle. And so if we really love Michelle, we should ignore her. And then finally, Michelle It's like a very traumatic experience where she hears the huge commotion first thing in the morning. She's like barely awake. She's in her pajamas. She hasn't even brushed her teeth. And they're like, Michelle, you got to come out here, right? She goes out into the main living area of the warehouse. And Rachel is saying that this other girl is going to be the new girl for the demonstrations. And Michelle is like, wait, what do you mean? I've been working so hard for this role. Like, I did everything you wanted me to do. Why are you suddenly saying I can't be the one? And Rachel is like, okay, then prove it. So she has Michelle stripped down. She's so confused from just waking up. Strip down, get on the table, and Rachel is directing a random guy to give her an ohm. Midway through, though, Rachel takes over and starts really aggressively ohming Michelle. And then she asks Ben, the guy that she likes, to go to the other side of the room and see if he can feel Michelle's energy. If he can, then she can be the girl for the demonstration. If not, then she can't. He loudly announces to everyone, no, he can't feel a thing. And so she lets her put her clothes back on. And members say that Michelle was in shock for hours, just sobbing the rest of the day. Michelle later says, it's so hard for me to convey how violent it was, even though there's no like violence. I've never been that violated. It was sort of like a public R wording. It wasn't that the physical action was painful, but it was so deliberate. It was a deliberate manipulation of my body and my mind so that I could feel pain. It felt like torture.
This is completely Rachel's doing.
Because she likes a guy.
This wasn't a direction came from Nicole.
At least not that we know of, no.
Right. You know, she clearly came up with her own methods to get what she wants, which is what Nicole was doing, right?
Yeah. I feel like Rachel starts getting all of that emotional trauma that Nicole is lashing out onto her. Because I will say that someone who spoke of Rachel later said, Nicole was so mean to Rachel. She like preyed on her insecurities. She would say the exact things to make Rachel spiral into her ED all over again, just so she could be the one that saves Rachel. And it was just very unhealthy. But I feel like she bottles all of that up from Nicole. And instead of lashing out at Nicole or leaving, she starts taking it out on other people. And a lot of things in One Taste just spiral out of control. So do the finances and the way that Nicole tries to keep the investors happy. Remember her tech boyfriend, Reese? That's the one that they created this 7 Deadly Sins birthday experience for. They also did a Wizard of Oz birthday experience where they had a bed suspending from the ceiling and then twisting from the ceiling. And Reese was supposed to get on top of it and have intimate relations with women.
She's making all these members do a birthday surprise.
Yeah.
For her boyfriend.
By all accounts, it seems like she treated it as if it was some quarterly investor call conference. Like it was a big part of One Taste. Planned weeks in advance.
That's actually crazy.
Lots of members are part of it. Lots of people are catering to him. Yeah, so he would walk in and the warehouse would be playing tornado noises on the speakerphones. And then the bed would be twisting in the air because the Wizard of Oz is like a tornado.
That is crazy.
And all of this was to keep this random dude happy. According to court documents, I mean, he did have very strong interest in creative situations. He liked to be walked around wearing a dog collar and a leash. He wanted someone to come into his house to tend to his very intimate needs. And in return, he paid for Nicole's ghostwriters, her lawyers, her company. At one point, Reese just becomes the only customer and client at One Taste. Everybody's focus suddenly has to shift to how to keep Reese happy.
Is this at the tail end of the company or just in the middle?
In the middle.
Oh.
Reese would come in and women would have to take him upstairs to the bathroom where they perform for him. And it was just, I will say the really damaging part of it is it was framed as women exploring their own desires. And this is why I personally say I don't like Reese, because you can't tell me that someone doesn't get an inkling that people don't want to do this. Like you can't just tell me that he just walks in and all these young women, I mean, he looks a certain way. And it just doesn't make sense in my head. I don't know. But it was framed as these women are not even doing it for Nicole. They're not doing it for Reese. They're doing it for themselves, for greater enlightenment. One former member describes the setup like this. Nicole feeds Reese women and she gets all the benefit. But it only gets worse once Nicole and Reese break up because Reese poured at least $1 million into One Taste. He is on the fence about demanding that money back, which would cause the company to most likely go under. I mean, he has no emotional ties to Nicole anymore. Why would he care what happens to her? That is why it's important for Nicole to get Reese to, be nice to her, to feel some sort of connection to her. So what she does is she supplies a constant supply of women.
Handlers who were One Taste employees or, One Taste associates who were asked at various times to giving him a hand job every day or some sort of sexual interaction. What's complicated is that some of the women who held this role don't feel that way. A few of them are still very devoted to Nicole, are still steadfast supporters of One Taste. And then others testified at trial about how they felt that this was abusive and exploitative.
Nicole convinces the woman that this is an honor to be able to go live in Reese's mansion in San Francisco and serve him. This is not an abuse of power. This is a spiritual opportunity that women should be thankful for. So they picked 2 women from One Taste to go live with Reese to be his handler. And the worst part of it is they picked 2 queer women who don't even like men and definitely don't like Reese. One was very vocal about struggling with her sexuality because of One Taste. She said that One Taste kept telling her that she had to unlock her full potential by being hungry for the male body part. So both of them get sent to live with Reese. They don't want to. I mean, they don't even know what this means. And every single day they wake up, they do the laundry, they do all the house chores, they put away the groceries, they feed Reese dinner. Sometimes he wants them to eat with them. Sometimes he just wants them to keep him company. And then almost every single day, there would be some sort of intimate favor that they would have to complete. And during a seminar, Nicole bragged about it. She told the class, when I was with Reese, I used to set up for him every day. Every day I would set up, I'd set up experiences. The only reason it seemed to stop is because Reese goes broke. His finances start taking. He's maxing out all of his credit cards. He can't afford his mortgage. He put more than $1 million into the company and he wants his money back. And Nicole knows that there is no more flowing drip of money coming in.
He went broke?
Yeah.
Really?
I don't know how broke he went because I was looking into it and now he opened up his own venture capital firm. But that's like what a lot of weird tech scammers seem to do too. So I don't know if this is like a legitimate one or if he's just pretending to have a job.
Yeah. And how does he walk away from this without any lawsuits or anything? That's crazy what he's doing.
I wonder if he settled privately with some victims. I know that One Taste settled privately with a victim. Like maybe that could have been part of the reason that he went broke. I'm not entirely sure.
So is One Taste still around today or no?
It's complicated. So a lot of the higher ups that were with the original One Taste, they started branching off and creating their own companies that are very similar to One Taste, but that are all about like tantric wellness. Or some of them are straight up like dating coaches services. A lot of the male higher-ups just started dating coach services. And Nicole still has a company, The Eros. They have a whole YouTube channel, a whole blog that is run by people. Even up until her arrest, she was creating these... I have a conspiracy where they have these videos where it seems like they're giving a seminar. But you only see Nicole and you only see the person, like her special guest that she's yapping to. Nicole talks like, my mom, if I were to give my mother 10 cups of coffee and maybe like 3 Adderalls. Just like, I don't know what this lady is saying. Like, you know how like people as they get older, they start yapping and you're like, I don't know if any of this is like connecting and she just gets weird. Do you know what I don't know if I'm describing it correctly. That's the feeling that I kept getting. Which is like, you know, when your grandma just is like yapping in circles and then she kind of forgets the point that she was yapping about, but then it devolves into a different point and then it keeps evolving into another point and then you're like, I think we've lost the plot. I don't even know what you're saying.
In your mind, have that drink. Do have the drink. Drink it. Enjoy the feeling of the drink. And then see what happens next. If it's like 7 days later and you're doing cocaine in Tijuana, in your mind's eye, maybe you don't take that drink this one time. But the most important thing to understand here is that it can't be to be good and it can't be to will it. That's so hard to get. It can't be like, I'm going to be the best, so I'm going to do it. Or she's doing it, so I'm going to do it and beat her. Or it can't be none of those things. Those are finite world reasons. It has to be freedom, the way a drowning person wants air.
Okay, so what's your conspiracy?
Okay, so my conspiracy is I don't think that they were booking seminars. I don't think that they were selling these classes. I think that they rented a little scenic office space that looks like where you would have a conference, and she would change outfits and just create these YouTube videos is my conspiracy. Because I'm like, I don't think anyone is here listening to this.
And what's the purpose of that?
To just seem like she's still got it in.
The company is like running
and to have more people join the company. This is my conspiracy. Definitely my personal opinion. Definitely not a statement of fact. What do I know? Right?
So they're no longer around.
The Eros platform is still posting. They're still posting the AI video of Nicole. They have other leaders. I think there's this guy named Eli Block, who on the website is like, he will teach you the way, blah, 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 blah. He was like, I think he was just like a genius tech bar at Apple.
Genius what?
Like he worked the genius troubleshooting bar at Apple or something, I think, before all of this. But on the website, they're like, he knows the answer to life. I'm like, sir, you used to work for Apple like 2 days ago. Again, 2 days ago is not factually accurate.
Wait, so he is still running the quote unquote company?
Yeah.
What?
You know, you should be an alpha because women will do anything for alphas.
And there was, okay, it gets so confusing. Right before Nicole's arrest, before the FBI investigation.
Yeah. And can you talk about later, like, how did it even fall apart?
Yes. So before the FBI investigation, Nicole sells the company One Taste for millions of dollars to One Taste clients, really wealthy clients. Yeah.
Who?
Oh, they seem litigious, so I'm not going to.
Oh, okay.
So she sells, and it doesn't matter because it doesn't seem like they're doing anything that Nicole is doing. So they take on One Taste and they try to keep it somewhat running, but everyone is like associating all of the now coming on allegations against One Taste to the One Taste that they now run. So it's like they just got handed a shitstorm. Oh. So then One Taste shutters, they shut down. I don't know if they've rebranded that, but that is completely unconnected to Nicole. Okay. And then you had a bunch of the higher ups at One Taste. Once that sale went through, either some of them went to the new company One Taste, or some of them started their own businesses of being dating coaches or tantric wellness gurus. Okay. And then you have Nicole, who goes MIA during the FBI investigation. Nobody knew where she was. Was she in Italy? Was she in Bali? We don't know. And then eventually she comes back to the US and she's like, you know what? I'm not going to hide anymore. I'm going to start my new company called the Eros platform, which is basically all the spiritual yapping and none of the oming. Like she still talks about oming, but it's just, I don't know what it is. Honestly, I don't understand the business structure. There's a website, there's podcasts, you can buy courses. You can still buy those very similar courses of Om and all of these things. You can be like a super member of the website. Every article I clicked onto, it's like once you click like 10 articles, it'd be like, half the page would be blocked and it'd be like, please sign up. And I'd be like, no. It was like one of those.
Okay.
So,
weird.
Yeah. And then she gets arrested.
Okay.
But someone is still running the Eros platform. They're still posting blog posts. They're still posting on the YouTube page.
Are people watching? Are people commenting? Not really?
I feel like I'm half the people watching. So it seems like not, right? Sure. Half those views are like the RM team and me. Just every day like, oh my God, I gotta go. So by this point, though, One Taste is still Nicole's. Reese is out, but it's still one of the, I mean, probably at this point, it's like the greatest single word for any business in SF. Profitable. They are profitable now. They're not just relying on money from Nicole's romantic interest. They are finally making money. They want to be the next Bloomingdale's, the soul cycle of a woman's Om. They want to create a database where One Taste strokers get a barcode on a keychain. You go to a location and you're like, hey, I want to Om. Let me scan your barcode. It connects to the app on your phone and it's like, this is level master stroker, and it just verifies his identity. And then you're like, okay, let me take my pants off. There were discussions to create online social networks to find other Om members. They're finally turning a profit. They're bringing in like In the beginning, I think it was $4.2 million in sales. Then it balloons up to $12 million in revenue. They get listed on the world's fastest growing startups by Inc. magazine. It is everything that Nicole has ever worked for. Except Nicole confides in a high up executive. So she starts courting a bunch of potential CEOs for One Taste. She's over it. She just wants the cash cow. She does not want to run this business. She's so sick of people. She stops oming, allegedly. She just wants money. That's it. She says, I have a fear, though, that if we have unlimited success, there will be nothing to hold my ego in check. Allegedly. It is very difficult to say how many victims of One Taste there are. Additionally, a lot of former members, even if they feel victimized by Nicole, they say it's a very tricky place because they still believe in the power of OM. They still OM every day. They stand by the benefits of all of that without all of the trauma, the coercion. Just OM itself, when they first started, that's what they hold on to. They just hate that Nicole ruined it for everyone and more people cannot be introduced to the benefits. A lot of One Taste members, victims, can be categorized in a few different sections of how they were taken advantage of. Obviously, the biggest one is financial. One former member says that she paid $70,000 for courses, and all she really got out of it was a copper necklace. That's what you get when you join a course, right? And the copper necklace reads, "Remember to remember." Another member says, I was literally going to the food bank. I had $300 in my account and someone convinced me that I should take that money out and put it towards a class. It was apparently very frequent that Rachel, the head of sales, would just whip out her computer and help people apply for credit cards. Others argue that it's the perfect blend of getting people into a state of easy manipulation.
You really want this course, you'll find a way to pay for it. Look, you could even open a new credit card.
There was a woman who I was dating, and she said, hey, I want to take this class with you, and I want you to pay for it. And I was like, what? And we hung up the phone, and I just sat in this chair, and I could feel the desire start to almost necrotize inside of myself. I could feel it starting to die. And I picked the phone back up, and I said, no. Okay, wait. I want to do it.
And they're just saying it's brain science. You have this whole weekend course where everybody's oming. There is chemicals released in the brain from having the OM sessions. You're just full of oxytocin. And so that you just end up racking up huge debts without even realizing what's happening. You lose touch with reality, and then it becomes very hard to get your money back. One former member says, the deeper I went, the more courses I did, the more I worked for them, the closer I got to Nicole. I knew I was doing something that later would be very difficult to unravel. I knew I was losing control. In One Taste, I just kept doing that again and again and again. One victim says, I'm so tired of hearing it, that you were such a smart girl. How could you let that happen to you? How could you let it happen? They start off with love. Experts call it love bombing, bringing you into the fold, making you feel special and seen, cared for, valued. Then they pull it away, push you down to the very bottom, expel you from the community, take away your access to purpose and meaning, and even at times take away your connection to God. We cling to this idea that we have control, that people who are abused and manipulated are somehow dumb or lesser, that they should have seen it coming. What I see now is those people who believe that this would never happen to them are only grasping for control, clinging to this idea that they would never allow this to happen. Another victim says, if you believe that you are immune or that you wouldn't get sucked in, think again. I promise you, under the right set of social pressures, you have no idea what you would do. And then you just have people that walked away feeling very confused about their intimate relations with other people and themselves, whether that be as extreme as feeling like they were coerced into having intimate relations with investors or people that they did not want for the benefit of Nicole and One Taste, or people that were forced to recreate their SA trauma, or just people who were told that OM would help them, and then after OMing so many times with strangers, they just were left confused. I mean, even the guidance between Nicole and the One Taste executives, it was so, in my opinion, reckless. I felt like they never had a clear idea. None of them had any sort of trauma training. Nobody knew what, honestly, I don't think any of them knew what they were talking about. And they switch up ideas nonstop. I can see how that could be very damaging for someone's idea of what it means to have relations with people. One former victim says, you don't realize until after what a damaging idea all this is. I feel really disgusted that I put myself through that. I feel much more confused about sex and the boundaries of my body, even though that's what they say it helps you cultivate. Another says it was about getting clients. She recalls Rachel telling her, really push it out, really give this man a great experience so that he wants to sign up for the coaching program. I felt really icky about it. One victim says it's like being in a cult. I mean, and it's dumb, but it's not, because she says, quote, knowing how alcohol works doesn't prevent you from getting drunk. Another victim says, I never wanted to own with other people. I never wanted to have my body touched. It was all forced, and my body feels filled with shame and disgust. I remember being told not to go to the hospital, that all the shaking, the vomiting, the weightlessness, the sickness was just an orgasm. It was me alchemizing trauma and pain from when I was younger, that if I just stuck with it, I would ascend to my next level of freedom and awakening. And Nicole, it seems like she made it, in my opinion, her life's mission to break people, but apparently she hated it. She went to dinner with a guy, and she just blurts out that even though she's surrounded by people at her company, she feels very alone. That all One Taste is filled with broken toys. Sure, she can make them do whatever she wants, but when she's not the one dictating their every decisions, all they do is disappoint her.
And I would just like come to One Taste and cry. I couldn't pay a bill. I was totally non-functional, but I just kept but I was determined. You have to want it the way a drowning person wants air.
Ellen Hewitt is the author of an amazing deep dive book on this case called Empire of Orgasm. She's also the journalist who wrote the original Bloomberg article takedown of One Taste. So she got calls of like, hey, can you cover this new wellness company from SF? So she's like, okay, yeah, I'll cover it. She starts reaching out to former members, and it's like just essay allegations stacking on top of each other. So this entire piece becomes the complete opposite of what she started with the idea with. She releases the article, One Taste goes silent, and then a few of her sources start calling her, telling her, these are people that were in One Taste that were like, I'm getting calls from FBI agents who want to talk.
Oh.
So it does seem like Ellen Hewitt is one of the reasons that this entire FBI investigation even gets started in the first place.
Interesting.
She uncovered a lot of dirty, deplorable details about the business. She talked to so many victims. I mean, it's hard to say if the investigation is purely because of her, but it seems like it. It's shortly after. And shortly after that, Nicole hires Judah Engelmeyer. This is a crisis public relations manager, a publicist, who only reps people in really shitty crises. Think Harvey Weinstein, Charlie Javis, the Chase fraud girl.
JP Morgan.
Yeah. And more recently, Diddy. He repped Diddy.
Who did she hire?
Judah Engelmeyer. So he wasn't a big part of Diddy's team,
okay.
But he also has, I believe, some internet beef with 50 Cent because he was repping Diddy at one point.
So you haven't met her yet? Okay.
No. And Nicole Daedone. Essentially, if you hear word that Netflix is making a bad documentary about your life, you and your case, you should probably hire Judah. And he also charges $10,000 a month to $30,000 a month, depending on you. He also repped Anna Delvey. Yeah.
What exactly do they do to these people? Because their crisis management is not that impressive.
Yeah, I don't know.
Exactly. None of these people has any good PR during their crisis.
Yeah, Diddy's crisis management was emailing influencers and journalists at the trial, being like, meet me on the 4th floor during lunch. And it's like,
Wait,
no.
I don't think people know this.
Oh, well, okay. Yeah. And it was just weird stuff. Yeah. It was very amateurish. I was expecting some craziness.
Yeah.
I was expecting the publicists are running circles and we don't even know what's happening and holy shit. But it was just kind of dumb.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe he's better. Maybe he's not, because all these people have pretty trash reputations anyway. So I don't know. But Anna Delvey says he's very comforting to talk to. I guess he's just like a therapist. She says every time I would need someone to vent to, he was the perfect person to speak to. He knows New York. He's not wide-eyed. He's not impressionable. And it helps to have someone who is seasoned and used to dealing with the courts and the prison system. So I guess he's like a therapist. I don't know. Nicole hires him while she's still free. She hasn't been arrested yet. It's unclear if she's even going to be arrested because the feds are notoriously very quiet during their investigations. They like to say nothing. And Nicole gets word that a Netflix documentary about One Taste is going to be released. So she decides that she's going to come back from being off the radar because this FBI investigation lasts 3 years.
Okay.
And we don't know half the time if they're still investigating. Because that's what the FBI does.
Yeah.
Some people are saying, oh yeah, I got a call from the FBI. And then nothing happens for 3 years until they're indicted. It's just like, what's happening? Like, no one's saying anything.
But Netflix is already like,
Netflix is like, oh my God, we got to get on this. There's word of that being in the works, with Ellen Hewitt also heavily featured in the documentary. She's coming out with her own book, which is now out, Empire of Orgasm. There was a Vice Investigates documentary that's like 50 minutes on this as well. So there's all these happenings. And Nicole, no one knew where Nicole was. Was she in Bali? Was she in Italy? We didn't know where she was until finally she comes back into the US. And I think that she thought, well, the FBI hasn't said anything, so I think the investigation is slowing down. And once everyone starts finding out about One Taste through the Netflix doc, they're going to look up One Taste. So she should come up with some new platform to monetize, is what I think that she was trying to do.
That's crazy. So she thought she's clear from the FBI, and this is actually an opportunity for her to blow up her business.
Is my speculation. I think that she thought all press is good press.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where was she? Did we find out or no?
It seems like either Bali or Italy. She comes back.
Okay.
And she goes on the stage with 200 people. I guess people were still in the beginning very adamant on supporting her. And she says,
You know, I was hit by the bomb that's called canceled.
Bro.
no, I think as being someone on the internet, I think there is probably some real psychological effects that happen to someone when they are hated on by the entirety of the internet. Yes. I don't think it should be spoken about on the internet. Like, I think you're just making it worse for yourself because there's like real life trauma happening. But she's like, the bomb, canceled. It's very Ned Fulmer. I was thrown under my desk. I was vomiting and shaking and crying. I didn't know this kind of terror existed. This is the same woman who allegedly forced essay victims to recreate their essay, and she is talking about being canceled on the internet for her actions as if it is like the most heinous, despicable thing that could happen to a human being.
I had to come back. I had to do the science. I had to write the books. And because of my friends, I had to come back here.
She describes it like it's her duty to the world. She said, if you knew you had a kind of medicine, but that medicine was surrounded with fear and loathing and a hatred that jeopardized your life, what would you do? So she's saying, like, I am so selfless. I have this meds. No one believes it. Everyone's scared of my medication, but I have to do this for you guys. One published article on the New Era's platform website, it reads that the media projecting the idea that One Taste was a cult is, quote, this is a very confused distortion of the community culture that One Taste was advocating. The idea of a guru or cult leader is a masculine ideal, assuming a formal hierarchy and not something Nicole Daedone ever sought or assumed in practice. While it is true and to be expected that Nicole was afforded all the same authority and deference that any CEO and company owner could count on to support her in the running of her business, she actively discouraged people from idealizing her. And they also went on this whole tirade on the website just talking about like the effects of being canceled. They would write, too often activism is used as a means to justify hate, cloaked in a righteous context, allowing us to diminish or belittle the other who hurt us. Outrage is the amphetamine of the masses. It keeps pumping us up, but we get nothing done. It burns brightly but destroys, leaving the territory it covers too scorched for anything to grow. How often have we let our conditions justify our addiction to resentment? True resolution, the kind that gratifies, is only found in intimacy. Nicole also believes that women just love the idea of canceling other women. She writes in a self-published article, this is why canceling and shaming, particularly among women, has become so prevalent. This is Nicole's authored article. It's not because women are inherently cruel. It's because they have been trained to see themselves as lacking. In the absence of true power, they seek control in the only ways available, through social maneuvering, reputation assassination, an ideological purity test. A powerless woman cannot risk direct conflict, so she strikes under the radar. She engages in character assassination rather than an outright battle. She convinces herself that she is upholding morality, when in reality, she is enforcing the very system that keeps her caged. A full woman gives, an empty woman takes. Everything, the culture, the gossip, the cancel culture, the backstabbing, the ideological warfare stems from this fundamental disconnection. When women are unplugged from their power, they destroy. When they are plugged in, they create. It's that simple. But it's all pointless because June of 2023, 10 black SUVs pull up, 20 federal agents get out, and a federal helicopter is swarming up above, and Rachel and Nicole are arrested. The DOJ is charging them with forced labor conspiracy. If convicted, they're facing 20 years in federal prison. Immediately, Nicole and her team are defending her. Nicole's attorney states to the media, Nicole Daedone has always been about uplifting women. Being a strong, smart, successful female entrepreneur doesn't make you a sex cult leader. It makes you a champion of female empowerment, and it makes you a target for false accusations. They also call her a ceiling-shattering feminist. Nicole and One Taste, they go on to create these graphics that basically insinuated that Nicole and Rachel were part of a modern-day witch hunt. So Nicole and Rachel and her team of female attorneys, they would choreograph their outfits where they'd be in like pantsuits walking into the courthouse for their court hearings. And there were reports from reporters and journalists that they would have male members of their team. So like the attorneys, maybe it's a paralegal, maybe it's another attorney on the team that's a male member, right? But once the cameras are out, they would go hide. So it just looks like a whole team of women coming into court to fight the witch hunt.
So Nicole and Rachel, they're not tried together, right?
They are.
They are?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Huh.
And they're repped by the same attorneys, which is questionable for sure. But
Right.
I guess Rachel never turns on Nicole. I'm sure, in my opinion, my speculation, she probably was given opportunity to. I don't see why the feds wouldn't,
Yeah. Huh.
but...
Fascinating.
Meanwhile, EDNY, which is the Eastern District of New York where they were tried in, they say the defendants built a business on the backs of victims who gave up everything for them, including their money, their time, their bodies, their dignity, and ultimately their sanity. So what the hell are their attorneys saying? During the trial, a lot of Nicole's followers would be there, and they just were on a social media campaign against the victims. All the witnesses testifying in the trial, personal pictures of the victims testifying against Nicole would show up on social media, and it was like a humiliation campaign against them. People that were still very loyal to Nicole would call them stupid liars, regretful narcissists, losers, imbeciles. They even released photos of victims wearing bikinis, photoshopping piles of poops over their face.
These are the followers of the cult.
Yeah, and they were all there. They were all like there in the public pews, I imagine. Wow. And Nicole was doing the same thing that I said Diddy was doing, where he's like putting his hand on his heart and like, thank you, mouthing thank you to the followers. Even their attorneys have stated some crazy things, like no matter what you think about One Taste and what they were doing, they chose it. They knew what it was about. The fact that they're regretting the actions that they took when they were younger is not evidence of a crime. We are deeply disappointed in the verdict of the court case. This case raised numerous novel and complex legal issues that will require review by the Second Circuit. So the trial started May of last year in 2025, which is exactly when Diddy's trial started. And I think that's important to note because there was not a lot of people attending the trial or lots of coverage on the trial that made it to mainstream media. And Nicole has said that ultimately her being convicted of forced labor conspiracy and Diddy not being convicted of sex trafficking is the double standard. I think he should have been convicted, in my personal opinion, but like I don't think it's a double standard. I think that jury pool was just so insane. Nicole's attorneys included the very aggressive Jennifer Bongine, who repped Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, R. Kelly, and Keith Raniere, who there's overlap because Diddy's Mark Agnifilo also repped Keith Raniere at one point. They did the same thing that a lot of the attorneys were doing in all these cases, that Nicole is not to blame for somebody else's choices. Ultimately, it comes back to, look at this really nice text message you sent Nicole, though. Remember when you told Nicole you love her? I'm sorry, was there a gun to your head? Like those same dumbass remarks, okay? They were, quote, having a blast, is what they would say. They would just berate the witnesses. Like, there were no locks on the doors, right? You could leave the warehouse at any time, right? There were no guns, right? But you wanted to be around Nicole. Look at this. Can you read this message for us? Rachel's attorney even said at one point, they wanted it badly. These witnesses were running towards One Taste, begging to be included, shouting from the rooftops about how much they loved it. Being mean is not a crime. They were ultimately found guilty of conspiracy to commit forced labor. They face a maximum of 20 years in federal prison. The prosecutors want 15 to 20 years. The defense argues just 2 years should do. They still haven't been through sentencing, even though they were found guilty June of last year. And it's likely because it is very complicated. The feds are overreaching, I will say. So they are found guilty of conspiracy to commit forced labor, not forced labor. That's a separate charge. Conspiracy is easier to prove. Right. So conspiracy is just like you were trying. You tried. And like the jury just has to think that you were trying to do that. You don't necessarily have to do it. They just have to think that you were trying to do it. The prosecutors, though, the 20 years is usually the sentencing for forced labor.
Right.
Not conspiracy.
And what's typically for conspiracy?
Probably closer to what the defense is saying. Yeah. So there's been a bit of a big argument there of Nicole and Rachel wanting to appeal. Their attorneys have stated we're deeply disappointed in today's verdict. We maintain our client's innocence and look forward to continuing this fight on appeal. The case has raised numerous novel and complex legal issues that will require review. We find inspiration in our clients, Nicole and Rachel, who have shown incredible strength throughout this entire process.
That this is exactly the type of case where you have extraordinary FBI misconduct, and I don't say that lightly, but this is the case. This is the case that they should be looking at, and particularly on this specific administration that seems to have such interest in looking at what the FBI has done systemically. This is the case right here. So yes, we hope they will, and we hope that it will result in the right result, which is dismissal.
This is my frustration with these like cases, right? Same thing with Diddy's case. I feel like the legal system doesn't protect emotional manipulation, right? When someone is in a very weak point and you can clearly see a lot of things, it's hard to prove in court. A lot of things happens in people's mind, and in text message, they say things like, I love you. But the context is she's not saying I love you out of I love you.
Yeah.
So that's why, they get charged with such small sentences, but the damage on all these victims is like lifelong.
Yeah. I forgot, I saw like a comment that was left on one of the Diddy videos, but it's very interesting. It's like, I think a lot of us, because maybe we're younger, we think that when there is a jury pool, it's going to be a bunch of people like you and me. But then they're like, you got to think of it as like the worst uncle that shows up to Thanksgiving, whose views you do not absolutely align with at all. And then that's more like the average jury pool for a lot of cases, especially SA or anything to do with a woman being the victim.
Yeah.
But if that appeal doesn't work, it's not over for Nicole and Rachel. It seems like they are, like I said, heavily courting right-wing media outlets. I think that Nicole and Rachel could potentially be going for a presidential pardon by the end of Trump's second term.
What?
Yeah.
What?
She's been going around saying some crazy things like, even though I grew up radically liberal, I found myself joyously side by side with conservatives fighting together in a great political battle. It seems like she is connecting with someone who is connected to the pardon czar, which is on Trump's team that does a lot of the pardons. It's unclear if that's her goal. It would make sense, but I don't know. So I guess
that's what like Ghislaine Maxwell was trying to do, right?
Yeah.
So is she and Rachel in the same jail then?
Yeah, seems like it. They're both at MDC Brooklyn, where Ghislaine is no longer at MDC Brooklyn, so I guess they cannot be buddy-buddies. I wondered if they own together. Is that defamatory? No. I do wonder if they own together.
But that's crazy that they still put them together then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that video of Ghislaine in jail did come out, remember? With the recent Epstein files.
Oh, yeah. She looks really bored, that one. Yeah.
But I do think like it's kind of sick because I think certain people hate being in jail. I think Ghislaine Maxwell hates it. I think Diddy hates it. I think all these people hate it. Nicole, I think she hates it. But I think if she gets out, she's going to have like a whole martyr phase. I think so. And it's going to be heinous. I just hope nobody falls for it.
Unbelievable. That means once the sentence is happening, she could literally be released right away if it's only a couple years, right? Time served, she's out this year, next year.
Yeah. And See, what's crazy is like, I think when we talk about it like this, it's whatever. No one's going to fall for it, right? But Ellen Hewitt, the author of Empire of Orgasm, and she's the one that wrote the original takedown article. If anyone, she's like Nicole's biggest op, or at least from Nicole's perspective. So she was there during the trial, and Nicole made eye contact with her. And a lot of times you would think that the defendant would just look away or like look stinky face. She said that a lot of the other One Taste executives were looking at her like, you ruined our lives. And Nicole says hi to her, walks up to her, and says, you and I share a strange intimacy.
And how did she describe her feelings? Or
just like very taken aback that she would even confront Ellen in that situation, but also probably like the way she did it was not mean, surface level. It's almost like, it's hard because I think when people do things you don't expect them to do, there is a level of charisma that might be attached to it because you're like, oh, that, I don't think I could do that.
That's how she, gets
Yeah.
manipulate so many people, right?
So, I mean, I just feel like if she's out, she's going to be a danger to a lot of people, a lot of vulnerable people too.
And I'm a little like, I'm going to say starstruck, but I mean that in a neutral sense.
Totally.
It's like, when you finally see someone in person that you've spent so much time thinking about, it is an interesting experience. She comes up to me, we shake hands, and she says, we have a strange intimacy. And we just...
What did you make of that?
I mean, she's right. Like, we do have a strange intimacy. Like we do, there is a relationship, as odd as it might be, that results from one person really trying to understand another by reporting on them.
Ultimately, it is unclear what exactly Nicole's problem was, why she did any of this. No one really knows. I mean, I do think it's money, but is it really money? One member says, I think dissatisfaction seemed to drive Nicole. It was never, ever, ever good enough. And that is the final part of One Taste. What do you think about this whole case? Let me know in the comments. What do you think she should be sentenced to? And let me know your thoughts, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.